go ahead and take down this QR. Here we go. Can everyone see my screen? Can you confirm for me, Priyanka? Perfect. Okay. So today we are going to talk about navigating workplace etiquette and campus careers. What I want you to take away from this experience is how you should conduct yourself as a professional in not only your campus career, but going forward in your professional journey as well. So we're going to jump through a few things here. We have an introduction, which I'll, again, like Priyanka mentioned, I'm Ariana Quinn. I am the Assistant Director of Career Services at the UH Sugarland and Katy sites. So I do have some office hours in both main campus and also Sugarland. And I'll have some instructions later at the end of the presentation on how you can connect with our career development specialist so that you can ask some general questions as well. So today we'll explore essential etiquette for success in your campus career and what that looks like. Some of the things we'll discuss will be the importance of it. We'll also talk about dress code, which is super important. We'll also think about some ways we can communicate effectively. And we'll also look at time management, email, and social media etiquette. We'll do a scenario. It's going to be a fun one. And then we'll talk about some teamwork and conflict resolution, networking, and some conclusions that I have for you all. If at any point you have questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I will try to have it open and trying to see simultaneously, but if anyone from my office can see those questions, just jump in and let me know what students are saying. All right, so the importance of workplace etiquette. Number one, professionalism is key in all aspects of campus employment. Workplace etiquette impacts relationships, opportunities, and your overall success, which is why I mentioned that it's not only important in a campus career, but it's also important in your professional journey. And then lastly, cultivating good etiquette sets you apart and opens doors for advancement. Most times when we make a good first impression, people tend to remember that. And when we conduct ourselves in a professional way, people often want to experience you more. And so keep that in mind whenever you are meeting new people, even if you don't think it's important right away. So first and foremost, how you show up definitely sets the tone. So we have to address dress code. I have 3 tips here on the screen. They're very, very simple, but they're super important and can be easily forgotten. So the first thing is going to be understanding the dress code policy of your workplace. That is super important. If you have a dress code, or let's say an environment that is very professional, then you know that you need to dress accordingly. Let's say you are in more of a laid back environment, then you may be able to dress without a blazer or without that tie. So just keep in mind that your workplace will matter. The second tip I have is dress appropriately for the role. So you can work in a certain space or industry, but your role may be different from others, and it may require you to be dressed slightly different. For example, if I work in a corporate office, but my job is in facilities, then I may not look like the person who's walking to their office. I may have to have on some type of flame retardant attire. So if I'm working with things that might spark flames, that my clothes don't catch on fire. So keep that in mind, that it varies from not only your workplace, but also your role. And then lastly, when in doubt, err on the side of professionalism. I know we normally say err on the side of caution, which is the same thing, but I want you to keep in mind professionalism is what we're going for. So here are a few examples of what this looks like. So you'll see this woman here dressed business casually. So it's still appropriate. It's very relaxed, but it still gets the job done. Then we see this guy here at the bottom, business professional. He has on a tie, he has on a suit, a 2-piece suit, and you can see that his environment would be a little bit different from hers. Then you see the guy here in the middle up top. This is a job specific. Let's say you work at the recreation center or the wellness center, and your job is to train students or to train other students on how to be a trainer physically. So you may need to dress like this and not necessarily with the suit and tie, because your job requires you to do something different. Keep in mind that even though you may be required to dress business professional or business casual every day, there may be days where your dress code can change. For example, in our office, we get to wear jeans and a t-shirt on Fridays. And so that's something to also keep in mind, is that it can change based on time of year, based on events, things that are happening. So if you have questions, always ask and communicate. And then you'll see the big picture here. When in doubt, dress the par. I always tell myself that if everyone showed up in, let's just say, workout attire, but you had no idea what to wear, I would much rather be overdressed than to come dressed like I was going swimming or something, right? So you want to make sure that you overdress, especially if you do not know what you should be wearing, especially on the first day, or let's say it's an event that you've never been to, okay? But always communicate. If you are in doubt of what to wear for a specific event or day, just go ahead and ask. You should have contact details for at least an immediate supervisor, someone that you can reach out to ask questions. So let's jump right into communication etiquette, because once you arrive to work dressed appropriately, the first thing you're going to have to do is communicate with others, whether that be via email, via Teams messaging systems, or even in person. So you always want to greet people when you first see them with a hi, hello, good morning, whatever that may look like depending on the time of day. And you want to also be sure that you are communicating and being present with the person in the moment. So practice effective communication, both verbally and written. That looks like emails, text messaging, all of that. And we'll talk about the email situation in just a bit. Use proper greetings and maintain eye contact. When you talk with people and you tend to look away, or you never really look at them, then they may feel the sense of you're not being interested, or you don't have something important to say. That's going to create a barrier between you and that person when it comes to communicating. So if you want to have effective communicating with each individual that you speak to, you're going to want to make sure you maintain eye contact, so that way they know you are talking directly to them and you are here with them in that moment. And lastly, be mindful of your tone and body language in all interactions. Sometimes we don't realize, but we may be standing in front of someone with our arms folded or tucked away, and that may create a sense or feeling for the other person. So be sure that when you are speaking with someone in person, that your body language is very open in there, and then also your tone. Tone can be perceived in an email, a text message, and in person. It is super important to make sure via email or text message that your tone is not coming across in a negative way. And I know sometimes we don't think about how that sounds to the other person, but just remember, if you were to be reading that email, how would you perceive it, right? Without having whatever knowledge that you have. And so when we talk about talking to our friends and our classmates and then our supervisors, we want to make sure that we are being very direct in a sense of telling them what the issue is, or telling them what exactly you need help with, because otherwise it leaves room for miscommunication. And so when we want to have effective communication, we have to eliminate all risk for miscommunication. Now let's jump right into time management. So you'll see this timeline here. This timeline takes you through one successful semester of school, starting in January, ending in May, and so for some of you, graduation, right? So the hope is that while working in your campus career, that you have learned how to become a professional. Will you be the best at it? Probably not, and that's okay. And that's why we're here to help guide you and answer those questions that you may have. And we're also here to help you practice and identify those areas where you can get that experience. So when we think about time management, be sure to always arrive on time for your meetings, shifts, and appointments. Manage your workload efficiently to meet these deadlines. Respect others' time by being punctual and organized. And when in doubt, communicate. Again, if there is something where you cannot make something on time, an appointment or a meeting on time, or you can't be there at all for the day, communicate that to the next person that needs to know that can take action right away. If you know that you're going to be late on turning in a project and you need an additional day or an additional week, the moment you realize that additional time may be needed, you should be communicating with the next person about it. The reason for that is because you want to let them know that you caught it in enough time and that you can hopefully work through it, or you guys can make an arrangement to take some other things off your plate so that this thing can get done. But if you don't communicate that to your supervisor or whoever you're working on this project with, then it may not be possible. And it creates frustration for not only you, but the other person overall, because whatever this is you're working on with them, it's causing some issues on their end as well. So remember, respect others' time, communicate, communicate, communicate. So let's talk about email etiquette and social media etiquette. I know that in 2024, we live in a day and time where everyone has a social media, regardless of what it is. It could be Facebook, it could be Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, you name it. It could be anything. So before I dive into social media a little bit, I want to first just talk about emailing, because emailing is something that a lot of students may not do, since you are able to either go in person and talk, pick up the phone, or even do some sort of instant messaging where you're like chatting with IT or something like that. But emailing is a bit more formal, and it gives you the opportunity and space to actually write out and be specific what you are trying to say. So remember to use clear, concise language in your emails, meaning read it and reread it, and make sure that you are being very clear in what you are saying or asking for. Proofread for grammar and spelling errors before you send. You'll see I have 2 errors here where there's some capitalization that does not need to be there, and there's a missing letter in one of these words. And so when you read and you show your attention to detail, this allows the person to easily accept what you're saying without having to figure out what you're trying to say. These are simple mistakes that can be easily fixed, but let's say you completely omitted a word, or you used an incorrect word, and now the person's confused trying to figure out what you're trying to say. Respond promptly to emails within a reasonable time frame. This is very important. As students, I want you all to put yourself in the shoes of emailing, let's say, someone about your financial aid, and you don't hear anything back, right? And so that could be very frustrating for you. So I want you to always carry that with you, and remember that when you're on the other end working in one of your offices and a student has a request or a need, making sure that you follow up that the student has received a response, or that the solution has been given or has been put in place, so that way this student's frustration doesn't grow larger as well. And now let's kind of transition back into social media. Remember, social media is a reflection of you. It is also considered part of your personal branding, meaning these things don't just go away. Whatever you put out there are just going to stay, essentially. And that is who you are going to become in the eyes of the other person. So I say that to say, let's say you're posting things back from, freshman year or even in high school, and you are no longer that person. Well, if those things were posted online, they can be found. Even if they're deleted, sometimes they can be found, and it can be used used against you, or used to perceive your persona or your personality. So be sure to maintain a professional online presence. Think before you post, and avoid controversial topics. Controversial topics are super important, because you'll see others, like on LinkedIn, they may post certain things regarding politics or religion or anything like that, and it may be very intriguing to engage with them. However, you have to remember that everything that you do online can be seen by someone else. If you don't want that to be the image that they have of you, then be very careful with the things that you interact with and that you post. And then lastly, respect the privacy and confidentiality when working or sharing work-related information. So be sure to, when you are posting on social media, let's say you're just, talking about a situation that you see commonly happening on campus. Well, be sure not to identify anyone, particularly whether it's by name, whether it's by classification, or any identifying information that would pinpoint back to a certain person. That is what this means when we say respect privacy and confidentiality when sharing work-related information. So keep that in mind when you're posting on social media, when you're ranting, you're doing all these different things. You want to be sure that you're protecting the privacy of the people who are involved, and always put yourself in their shoes. You would want the same thing in return. So be sure that we are keeping ourselves or the other person in the forefront of our minds as we make every single action. So let's try it. So we have a scenario, and This is a made-up scenario, although if you work in this type of office, you may have seen something similar to this before, because I know I have. So what I want you to do is read the scenario on the right side of the screen, draft a professional response addressing the concerns that are raised in this email. A few things to remember as you are reading this scenario and drafting your response is to take time and reread your response. You might even have to reread the scenario or the email so that way you can understand what is happening. Focus on clarity, professionalism, and addressing the sender's concerns. So I'll leave this here up on the screen. Well, actually, I'll read it and then I'll leave it here for about 3 minutes. And then I want you all to just draft something. It could be in your head. It could be on paper. You can even convert this scenario to be someone standing in front of you in an office telling you all of these things. Of course, they won't sign and put their signature at the end when they're speaking. But if you want to convert this to an in-person situation and you want to develop a response on how you will respond to that, that is perfectly fine too. So here we go. I'm incredibly frustrated and disappointed with the level of service provided by your office. It's become abundantly clear that you have no regard for student concerns or needs. I've been waiting for a response to my financial aid inquiry for weeks, and the lack of communication is completely unacceptable. Do you even care about helping students, or are you just sitting around twiddling your thumbs? I demand immediate action on my case, and I expect a full explanation for the incompetence displayed by your staff. If you can't handle the responsibilities of your job, maybe it's time for you to find someone who can. I'll be escalating this matter if I don't receive a satisfactory resolution promptly. Consider this your final warning. Disappointed and disgusted, Shasta Coog. So I want you all to take some time, take it in, and then I'll give you about 3 minutes to draft the response. If at any point someone would like to volunteer themselves to share their response, if you have one already, please feel free to jump right in, unmute yourself, or raise your hand and I'll call you. And if not, we'll wait the 3 minutes and then I will probably popcorn someone in. About 1 more minute. All right. So I do realize that in the real world, when drafting this response, it will take longer than 3 minutes. The idea of today is just to get your mind going and thinking of even just a plan of how you will respond. So, like most times when we write a paper, we think of our outline or the points that we want to bring up in this paper. And so, if you want to share, would like to share maybe some points that you would like to bring up in your response, or if you have a working response that you'd like to share, please feel free to unmute yourself or use the raise hand feature, and I will tag you in. I am going to do some volunteering, some involuntary volunteering. Let's see. Okay, I do see a hand. Is it Yanet or Yanet? Awesome. Go ahead and let us know what you have.
Okay, so I wrote, Dear Krug, let me begin by apologizing for any misunderstanding and/or issue you are facing due to our office. We deeply care about all of our students and prioritize answering all of your questions and resolving as many issues as we can. Due to the nature of enrollment season, we have had an abundance of inquiries and issues come in, meaning it will take us a bit longer than usual to reply to every student. But rest assured that we are doing our best to get through all emails. Please give us 24 hours to fully resolve your financial aid matter. We appreciate your patience and understanding. Sincerely, the Financial Aid Office.
Yes, good job. Well done. You actually followed a couple of points that I'm going to bring up here in just a second on the things you should include when you are responding. So very good, Yana. I really appreciate you volunteering. Is there anyone else that would like to jump in and share their thoughts? Last call. Okay, I don't see any hands. If you have a written one that that you were working on and you'd like to share it in the chat, I am more than open to doing that. So go ahead and drop it if you want to. But I'm going to go ahead and move forward with a response that I've created as well, which is going to sound very similar to what you just heard from our volunteer. But before I do that, I want to first mention a few points when we look at emails from students or constituents who are frustrated, who are experiencing some sort of negative adversity or happening to them, especially when they feel like they have reached out or attempted to communicate multiple times. We have to remember to put ourselves in their shoes and understand what they're feeling, right? And so a lot of times it's easy for us to just think, oh, we're just so busy, like we don't have time to do blah 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 blah. And while that may be true, we also have to understand what's happening to this person. And we have to remember that there's a human on the other side of this email or this screen, and that they're also experiencing some sort of hardship or in this case, a financial situation. So some of the things I always tell myself is to apologize. That's first and foremost, right? And a lot of times most people, say, oh, I'm not apologizing for something I did not do or something I'm not sorry for. Well, we're not apologizing for something we didn't do. We're apologizing that they are having this experience, right? Especially if you work in an office where you know that that's not the MO of this office. This office does provide a student support and that everyone tries their best to do it. Then you're apologizing that they're having this sort of experience with your office. And so if you don't do anything else or take anything else away from what we're going to talk about with this scenario, please take away that you should always offer or extend your sincerest apology for what's happening to them or what's happening with this situation. So here's a response that I've drafted, and it reads, Dear Shasta, thank you for reaching out to the Student Service Office regarding your concerns about the status of your financial aid inquiry. We sincerely apologize for any frustration or inconvenience you may have experienced. Please know that we take your feedback seriously and are committed to providing the best possible service to all students. We understand the importance of timely communication and are working diligently to address your inquiry. To ensure we provide you with accurate information and prompt assistance, could you please provide us with your student ID number, a good phone number, and any relevant details regarding your financial aid inquiry? This will allow us to review your case thoroughly and provide you with a comprehensive response. Rest assured, we are dedicated to resolving your concerns as quickly as possible and will keep you updated throughout the process. Your satisfaction is our top priority, and we appreciate your patience and understanding as we work to address your needs. If you have any further questions or require additional assistance, please don't hesitate to contact us directly at Student Service Office contact information. Thank you for bringing this matter to our attention, and we look forward to assisting you further. Best regards, you put your name, your position, and the name of the student service office you work for. There are several things to unpack here, and we're just looking at the surface. There are other things that occur in the background of it before this email can happen. If this person has mentioned several times, and I see your hand, Sherelle, in just a second, okay? There's if this person mentions that they've emailed several times or called or whatever that looks like, you may want to investigate. You may want to find, maybe a past email. Maybe you want to see if they have any notes left on their student account from the previous person who spoke to them. Because 9 times out of 10, you can probably get their issue resolved before you email them. And then when you do email them, you can actually have good news. And what student wouldn't want good news, right? So just keep that in mind and think about the ways that you can streamline this process and make it more efficient for everyone. Sherelle, did you still want to jump in?
I did, and I was going to ask, do you do investigations before you obviously send out an email? But do you have blanket emails? Because you're going to have students that's going to inquire, and they're going to be upset because they have not received their financial aid. So I was just wondering, is there a blanket email so everybody can kind of be uniform?
So that's a really good question. And I will say blanket emails will need to come from your specific department. So I'm in career services, but I can certainly send or post in this chat a template of a way that you can respond, but you're going to have to filter it into some information that only your department or you would have. But that's a really good question. If you are looking for an email template or something that has been sent to students in the past that covers the basis or whatever that looks like, then someone in your department may have already sent an email like that before, and they would be the best person to get an email like that. But there are also several ways to recover different types of email templates. But just remember, when you're getting those things, even if you're getting them from online, you're going to have to filter in all of the information that you have. So you'll see, like on this template, I do have brackets that just fill in like random information, like the student service office. Let's say this template was talking about someone wanting their resume done, then all of the details in this would have nothing to do with financial aid. It would be, talking about how you can get your resume reviewed by a career development specialist. So if you're interested in me sharing this one with you, I can share that with you, Sherelle.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for chiming in. Any last thoughts on the scenario and the response before I move forward? All right, I don't see any hands. So now that we've talked about communication and we've talked about the things that seem so easy, but sometimes can be very difficult, we're going to talk about some more things that could actually be very difficult and detrimental to your professional journey, depending on how you approach it. So we're going to talk about teamwork, and we're also going to talk about conflict resolution, because with working in a team, there's going to come some conflict, and knowing how to effectively deal with it will make you stand out. Not just that, but then it'll also give you a sense of empowerment when you are at work and you are communicating with your colleagues and your fellow student workers. So first, some teamwork tips: collaborate with your colleagues respectfully. So that means making sure that the things that you are saying, or all of the jokes that are being made, are respectful. They're not they're not making someone feel a certain type of way. They're not negative. And most importantly, they don't have, anything to do with personal things like race, religion, things like that. So make sure when working in a team, you're communicating with them on the things that, are specific to this project or the things that this team is working on. Listen actively and contribute positively to group discussions. This looks like, for example, we're all in a meeting right now, and how, let's say your supervisor would know that you're listening is if they call on you to answer a certain question and you don't know what, the question was, and you have to ask them to repeat it, then that is an example of doing the opposite of number two. So you want to make sure that when you are in team meetings, or discussions, that you are listening and that you are actually contributing to the group discussion, because at a certain point, it's going to feel like you're not pulling your weight, and then it's going to cause some conflict. And then number three, acknowledge and appreciate the contributions of others. So how many times have you probably felt that even working on a group project for class, someone didn't recognize that you did almost all of the work and they just kind of like brushed it off? Well, that's exactly what we're talking about. Acknowledge and appreciate what people are doing. If you knew that something needed to be done in a project and so got it done, then acknowledge it and thank them for it, because they did not have to do it, but they did it for the betterment of the team. And so they are exhibiting positive teamwork. And so when you put yourself in their shoes, think about it. Would you want someone to acknowledge that you did something and went above and beyond? Sometimes we say no, we don't care if anyone acknowledges it, but just think of if they did, how good that would make you feel. And so you want to pay that back to someone else. Now let's flip it and talk about conflict resolution. So when working in a team, you're always going to have some sort of conflict. It may be small, it could be big, but knowing how to deal with it is going to matter. So make sure when you're handling conflict, it is professional and constructive. If you are not aware of what constructive means or what that looks like, it basically is a way for you to tell someone something that isn't attacking them, but it's actually providing them a sense of, let's work on this together to make it better. So we're not, telling someone, no, you did this, and being accusatory. What we're doing is saying, hey, I noticed that this happened, blah, blah, blah. Let's see if it plays out a different way doing it this way. And that's you giving them constructive feedback, so they know that whatever they did not work, but you have a solution to hopefully fix it. Number two is to address issues directly with the individual involved. So if you are working on a team and you have about 3 or more, maybe even just 2 or more student workers where you all work in an office, and there's been some sort of administrative issue in the system on a student account or whatever that looks like, make sure you ask questions first, right? You want to ask them and say, hey, did you know blah, blah, blah? Or did you see that on the account, blah, blah, blah? Because what you're doing is you are bringing the issue to them to allow them to either correct it or to provide some sort of explanation if necessary. When you jump around them and you go to other people that have no idea about what you're talking about, that just causes confusion, and it could create a bigger conflict amongst the entire group, because then you're telling this person and this person's like, I don't know what that is, and then it just blows up and it gets big. So you want to make sure that you address whatever issue you are dealing with directly with the person. Now, if this is an issue that involves something other than work-related things, then your supervisor may need to be involved with those situations. And so if it's not an issue that you can go straight to this person with, then the next person should be a supervisor. It shouldn't be a friend or another colleague. It should be a supervisor, a person who can effectively diffuse the situation and get an understanding, okay? And lastly, seek mediation, like I just mentioned, or assistance from supervisors when necessary. If there's a time where it's too hard for you to communicate with this person, even if it is a work-related thing, then you need to seek assistance or mediation. It is nothing wrong with doing that. What you're actually doing is showing how strong you are, and you also are exhibiting the fact that you know yourself. And so I rather you err on the side of caution and actually get someone involved. So now we're going to switch it over to some more positive things such as networking. A lot of people fear this word, but I don't want you all to fear this because you are working here on campus and hopefully you're networking with people. Hopefully you are meeting them and you are getting to know them, where they work, what they do, because you never know when you're going to not necessarily need them, but when they may reappear in your life again. And so even just sitting on this call today, there was at one point 40 people, and there's still over 30 people in this call. These are all people that while you're seeing just bubbles and names on the screen, you may eventually see this person again. And so when you are working in your campus career, in the office, wherever you are, when you greet people, remember their name, remember their face, remember who they say they are, where they're coming from, or where they work, because these people can essentially be your network. So here are a few tips to networking. And they're very, very simple. And we actually do this on a daily basis. We just don't realize it. But make sure you build relationships with peers, supervisors, professionals in your field. So that's anyone you come in contact with. That's your colleagues, that's your supervisors, and that's also people who are walking into your office, or if you're walking into their office, these are people who become parts of your network. Follow up after networking events with a thank you message. So for example, if you've ever attended a career mixer or career fair that our office has hosted, and you went to several tables and shook hands with these representatives and these recruiters, and you got their contact card and you got all this great, wonderful information, well, go ahead and use that contact card, send them an email, and thank them for their time, let them know where you met them, and just be genuine about the connection that you all had that from that day or that time. And then tip 3, offer help and support to others in your network. So for example, and I'm just going to pick on Yannette and Sherelle, but let's say, they don't know each other at all, but they know that they both work on campus. Well, what they could do is provide support. So for example, if Yannette's department's hosting an event and Sherelle has some free time, she may want to go and volunteer and help. What that does is that builds their network and their connection, because then let's say Sherelle ends up looking for a full-time job. Well, let's say Yannette hasn't graduated yet, and Yannette's office has a full-time position. They may actually look to Sherelle if she's interested, because she has already shown her interest. She has already given her time voluntarily, actually. And then she has just been there and shown this department that she is committed to their mission and what they're doing. So when we talk about offering support and help, that is an example of what that looks like. And if you are a person who is always going to want to be involved and friendly, then this is a way for you to continuously build that network, especially when you're doing volunteer things as well. All right, so we have just about reached the end of the presentation, and I do have 2 conclusions for you. Normally we, presentations end with 1, but I want you to see 2 of these things from this point of view. And conclusion 1 is that workplace etiquette is fundamental to success in not only campus careers, but throughout your professional journey. And conclusion 2, by mastering etiquette, you enhance your professional reputation and opportunities. So again, once just recapping, we talked about how you show up at work, and that's your dress code. We talked about how you communicate, whether it's via email, and we talked about how your branding or your social media etiquette plays a part in this, navigating the professionalism for your campus career. And then we also talked about teamwork and how to effectively handle conflict in the workplace. And then we kind of wrapped up with making the best of your experience, which is networking and getting to know other people who are connected to you or connected to people who are connected to you. And one of the things I want you to take away from this workshop today is that everything is a work in progress. Even no matter what point you are at in your professional journey, that is not your end point, and there's always more to learn. So remember that after this one workshop, you won't be a master, communicator. You may become better, but you won't be, perfect. And that's okay, because we're all human. And if you keep working on it and you keep taking time to be present with what you're doing or what you're experiencing, that will make you better. So I said all of this, and you're probably wondering, okay, I have so many questions, and like, how can I get a session with a career specialist, and how do I keep this momentum going? I do have a QR code on screen. If you are using your phone and can't scan the QR code, I do have the website, which is uh.edu/UCS. And this will take you directly to our site, and you will click meet with a counselor. If you scan the QR, it takes you straight there. And those are ways that you can connect with us. We offer appointments for several different types of things. If you just had general questions because you're just like, how and what do I do? We do have an appointment for that. And you can just schedule it by going through these steps. Here's our location, our phone number, and email address. I did not get our Instagram, so I don't know if anyone from my team has the Instagram and wants to drop it. If we have any socials, you can do that. I know a lot of people like to just, see what's happening on social media. We do have some things happening. But any questions, I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor for any questions that someone may have, comments, thoughts. I'm open to anything. Yes, thank you, Madison. No questions? Thank you, Madison. So our Instagram is @CoogsCareer. So if you can see in the chat, Madison did drop that there for you for our Instagram. All right. Well, thank you all for your time. I really appreciate it. I know some people have started to drop off just a second ago, but thank you all. I really appreciate it. And again, you can find me sometimes at main campus, sometimes at Sugar Land. So just connect with our office, and we'll be sure to get you connected with someone to help.
Ariana, there's one more question in the chat.
Yes.
From Brianna.
Okay.
Brianna?
Yes, I see it. Do you have any advice on how to address someone who communicates in an aggressive tone? That is a very good question. So I'm always going to say to never match, right? Like, we always want to make sure that we're not matching the tone we're getting from the email. And I'm not sure if you've ever heard this phrase, but kill them with kindness, right? Because you don't want to stoop to a certain level, because then that also becomes your image. So when you are communicating with someone that communicates in an aggressive tone, the first thing you should do is take a step back. Because if you respond right away, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be aggressive as well, or it's going to be passive aggressive, because you know that you don't want to be aggressive, but you also want to get to the point. So take a step back, take some time to digest what you read and how they said it, and then also tell yourself, and this is going to require a lot of mental strength, tell yourself that it's not personal. And you have to believe it. You can't just tell yourself that. You have to believe that it's not personal. And then I want you to draft your response that is not aggressive, not passive aggressive, but very kind and compassionate. Because let's say this person is always communicating aggressively because of something that's going on at home and has nothing to do with you. If that's the case, then the last thing you want to do is throw fuel on the fire when the issue isn't with you at all. Now, if this is a different scenario where the issue is about you, then this may require you to talk to a supervisor or someone in leadership If that person is your leader, then it may mean talking to someone else. I say that because if you are experiencing a hostile environment, that becomes an issue, a workplace issue. So if hopefully that's not the case, but if that is the case, then you're going to want to escalate that situation if it's been happening for a while. But if it's just, another person or colleague and they just always seem to have an aggressive tone via email, always take a step back. Do not respond immediately. Take a couple of minutes, think it through, make sure your response is very compassionate, because the last thing they'll be able to say is that you spoke to them in that way as well. I hope that answers your question, Brianna. Awesome, thank you. Any other questions?
Ariana, I would also
Yes.
like to add that
Mhm.
let's say if a student faces any questions or concerns while they're in their job,
Mhm.
and if they don't know how to handle it professionally, they can always reach out to us. They can stop by during our drop-in hours
Yes.
and kind of discuss it with us. If needed, we can connect you with HR if that's what is needed. But if it's a question of how to answer or respond back in a professional manner,
Mhm.
we'll definitely be able to help you out with that.
Awesome, absolutely. Thank you for adding that, Priyanka. Any last questions before we close up? Okay, I don't think I see any more questions. Do you all, Madison or anyone, see any questions in the chat?
No questions, but I did drop our drop-in hours for for
Yes.
Tuesdays and Thursdays and Wednesdays. So
Thank you. Okay, well, I don't see any other questions coming through. And like Priyanka mentioned, and Madison also dropped the details for our drop-ins. Please feel free to stop back in and just ask whatever questions that you have or any concerns. Or if you don't have anything burning, but you still want to connect with us and maybe make an appointment, then you're free to do that as well. So I do appreciate everyone for sticking around for some of these last minute questions and details. I do appreciate your time. And again, happy National Student Employment Week.
thank you, Ariana.
Thank you. I see we still have about 7 people in the meeting. I'm not sure if they walked away, but I just want to stay in just in case any of you had any questions that you may have wanted to ask separately or anything. Okay, Priyanka, are you still there? Okay. I see we have about 4 more people. I think you're on mute. I can't hear you.
Oh, I was gonna say, they may have just left, or maybe they're not listening actively.
Okay.
So it's okay to leave the presentation. You can stop the recording.
Okay.
But great job.
Thank
So
you.
good. So good.
Stop recording.